I'm getting notification that the recording has started. I would like to wet your palate, if you will, with a little bit of background music. Have you heard of this background music?
In what? You mean like in the world that there could be background music in things like a movie or a TV show?
Yeah. Or like a
Uh-huh.
podcast with a
I've heard
couple
of that.
dudes.
Yes. I have heard of background music. Yes.
Okay. I'm just trying to start a lively and vibrant conversation. That's all. I see that you are ready to do the same. Can I ask you a question as we do our little pre-show mix? We've got
Yeah.
to kind of relearn how to do this. It's like the show experienced an injury or something, and here we are in our first game minutes without a rehab assignment. I might add, without going and loosening up in Frisco, or
We on a pitch count or no?
we haven't even thrown a side session. We haven't even gone to the, what are they calling it now? The G League, the D League, the
G League,
G League. We haven't even played with the
the
G
Rough
League
Riders.
Clash. We hadn't thrown some extras for the good folks in the Frisco Rough Riders organization. We hadn't even gone up there and seen Grooves without a shirt on. We're just right back at it, raw dog, without any practice innings.
I don't need practice to do what I do on this show because it's obviously not the result of anyone practicing.
I feel like what I'm about to ask you falls under protocol behavior. I think you and I tend to, for the majority of things, run a protocol or a system in our lives. Maybe not our third guy who's not here today. I don't know that's how Jace runs. I think he's got some protocol, but I think he's on the other side of just kind of winging it.
Oh, he's such a wing it guy. You and I know what we're doing next Thursday night. He doesn't know what he's doing at 2:00 today.
And I'm not always the best about putting it in the schedule, so I can relate to him with that. But I know, even if it's looking at the schedule on Tuesday, I'll be like, I need to put this in. I know this is happening Thursday or what have you. But what I'm about to bring up falls under the umbrella of protocol. And I think I know your stance, as I typically do, but I want to flesh these things out. You have a grooming protocol?
You want to be more specific?
I think your first initial reaction there, the way you tilted your head, is I think you think I'm talking about your nethers, your under region.
I'm just letting you ask the question.
And I'm not here to preclude that area. What I will say is my main focus is, talked about this a number of times, we're getting older now. You and I probably grooming more than the regular human being in that we're both bald. You keep the short scalp, I keep the skin tight. And so we're looking at that area of our being more regularly, more closely than probably, it's got to be up to 75% of men at that point. A lot of balds, a lot of short scalps running around now. And because of that, you notice the ear hair, you notice maybe the one stray eyebrow, or the eyebrow that's not really connected to the rest of the eyebrow length, eyebrow bushiness. You'll notice that kind of thing. If you're really getting into it, you might notice some nose hair, unwanted friends that are making appearances and popping up down there. But because you're looking, it's all coming at you at once. For me, I've talked about it before, my biggest thing is the ear hair that sticks up off the top of my ears now. Can't stand it. Cannot absolutely stand it. So, I say again, after I give you a little context there, do you have a grooming protocol?
Do you mean like a schedule
Or
like
like
a process? Or is this kind of like, oh, I wash my legs last,
yeah, that
in the
kind of thing. Are
shower
you
type
keeping
thing?
up with these things, or does it have to get unfurled for you to be like, oh shit, might need to get a handle on that?
Sorry, something happened out in the yard.
Okay.
That's fine. It's kind of random. I don't.
I'm surprised.
I just kind of check. Kind of check the brows, the nose hairs, whatnot, every handful of days. I don't have a good schedule for trimming my beard and shaving my head generally, which is probably part of my problem. I wish I did, but I don't think about it until I'm looking in the mirror and think I need to do it. So I just when I do shave, I'll kind of give everything a once over, but I don't do that as often as I should. But I try to keep a side eye on it a little bit. The eyebrows for me, the eyebrows and the wannabe eyebrows above the eyebrow. The only thing that gets daily attention is the cheek whiskers. You know what I mean? The whiskers up above on the cheekbone that where no one really wants to grow a beard, but they grow anyway.
And obviously your pubis.
I hit those every day.
Obviously the pubis.
Oh, twice a day.
Human dads. 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 Podcast. Human dads. Podcast. Human dads. Podcast. Human dads. Podcast. Human dads. Get up off your ass. Human dads. Podcast. Human dads. Podcast. Human dads. Podcast. Human dads. Get up off your ass.
Oh, your mom.
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 Tell your mom to listen. Tell your mom to listen. Tell your mom to listen. Tell your mom to listen.
Get up off your ass for the Human Dads Podcast.
Back like we never left. You know what I mean?
I never did leave. I've just been sitting here with the mic in my hand, waiting for somebody to send me an email.
Poor Rye just showing up every Saturday and Sunday morning with his coffee, just sitting there, mic in hand by himself out on the patio. Longest, as I said before we started recording, think it's the longest time that we have gone without recording, probably in the history of the new iteration of the show.
And by new, you mean 5+ years ago?
Yeah. 5 years ago. I don't think we've taken. I think we've surpassed the 3-week mark. And should you require it, or should you feel as though it's deserved, I apologize. If you've completely forgotten about us at this point, and we're just speaking into some sort of deep, dark, empty, cavernous space, then I suppose it's moot. But here we are. Rylan, Brad, still no Jace.
Does anyone want to guess which state he's currently returning from? This time, by road, by vehicle. Does anybody out here in the studio audience, want to guess which state he's coming back from?
I don't think that there's much money on any other state outside of Florida. He has told us he has got a 12-hour car ride, either finishing right now or just finished in the wee hours of the night yesterday. But I believe he is returning from kind of an odd choice, in my opinion. They're really doing up that alligator Alcatraz, and before it's set hard to open. They're offering tours to the public, and apparently they got on that bandwagon pretty early. And
well, you know, he's no stranger to Florida alligator humor on this show.
yeah,
And by humor, I mean talking about people dying.
he's always bringing up that Disney kid. Kind of weird sense of humor on his part, but here we are. Let me ask you to kind of carry over the grooming conversation. Let's say we're hanging out in person. Okay, me and you. We're sitting at a table. Maybe we're sitting at the bar in close enough proximity to one another where I could see what's going on with your face thing. And I noticed some unruly vegetation sprouting out of your nostrils. Does it have to be like Raleigh Fingers mustache level for me to be like, yo, bro, might want to give that a once over? Might, in the words of the great Junior Miller, might want to cut that back a little bit.
Did this happen to you in real life somewhere?
It didn't. I'm trying to figure out the boundaries of like regular human behavior, or
I don't think I'd say anything.
I just don't. Me just being neurotic.
I would fight the urge to stare at it for however long I was, but I don't think I would say anything. Because if it's bad enough for me to notice, then you're not paying attention to it, and I don't want to say anything.
Like,
I'm just going to look at your forehead.
Yeah, you've clearly made your choice at that point.
Or you've clearly chosen not to choose. You just don't know. So I'm just gonna stand back from that. I don't need to I don't even have a talk about other people's nose hairs, just generally speaking, I think. Which is clearly based on the first 12 minutes of this show, a difference between me and you. So are you walking right in, what's up, dap, and then checking the nose hair and giving a comment?
No, but
right
it goes back to the classic conversation. We're sitting there, same situation. We're at the bar. We're having a couple, and we ordered some chips and queso with 2 bowls, doble queso, and you got a little queso on your cheek.
I'd like to thank you for pointing out we ain't eating queso off a plate.
Obviously,
if they bring us 1 bowl of queso and 2 plates, we're going. Bring an empty bowl out here and a spoon instead, please. Thank you.
Might even just throw the damn thing back. Might not even.
It depends if I got cheese on my fajitas.
Yeah, we might be making the Facebook rounds with the. You believe these 2 guys came in and treated the service this way?
I'm not putting cheese on my fajitas. I don't know. I don't do that for some reason. So you don't have to worry about that with me.
But in the same way that I look at maybe nose hair like being part of the night as an extra person in the squad there, I would tell you if you had queso on your face.
Yeah, but that's because you're in the other person understands that they are eating. If you're sitting across from me and you're having chips and queso, you are aware, you are cognizant of the fact that that's what you're doing. So I'm not surprising you. Saying, hey, giving you the little nonverbal gesture, showing you where it is. Then you have the whole conversation where the person you're talking to doesn't know if you're saying left or right, if they should mirror you, classic. Or if they should, you get over that and then you move on. But when you're talking about this other stuff, they don't know. So it's better to leave it. Let that sit there. Just let the sleeping dog lie. You don't need to mess with it.
Because potentially it could be offensive. It could be offensive, right? That's ultimately what we're getting here.
It's just not a fun conversation. Do you want to sit and have a conversation about nose hairs with your buddy at the bar or on your patio when you had to set your alarm to get out of bed on a Sunday? Do you want to have a conversation about nose hairs? Probably not.
I appreciate your kind / passive aggressive way of not enjoying what I'm bringing to the show.
Somebody's got to create some conflict here with Jason out. He was happy to report that he's a vice president now. So, but he wouldn't tell us what he's the vice president of. Because it's veiled in secrecy. It may be Florida.
It's definitely got something to do with Florida. I'm going to say it's generic, like vice VP of like dictatorial communications or something that's got like 3 extra titles on the end to where it certainly sounds substantial, but to the extent that we could figure out what he's actually doing, I don't think we're going to gain any insight from the title.
No one knows what anyone does unless they have the type of job where you can watch them do it, or they're in sales. People understand sales. People understand a job that they can see, hear, experience. Any other job in 2025, nobody really knows. I can't even really explain my job.
I don't know that I have a whole lot on this topic. I'm just mentioning this because this is a butterfly that flew by for us here. But the one of the titles that is stuck in my brain repeater loop, client success manager.
Oh yeah, we got a lot of those. It's an account rep.
But what do you do? I'm a client success manager. Oh, okay.
But if you say I'm an account rep, and you don't say sales rep, you say account rep, people will get that, right? So I think we euphemize everything.
But also, is it a little bit like, I don't know. For me, somehow I can make sense of it and I can't. And when I can't, part of it is like, is it a little bit of a participation trophy in there?
The success part, because they're not all succeeding at the same level all the time.
Well, like,
I know, but we want all of our clients to succeed, and your job is to facilitate that.
Because like you don't want to knock it down and just call it follow-up person. Like we don't want to knock it down and just be like extra phone call person. You know, we do need some bit of morale and meaning and dignity being bestowed upon you with your title. But client success manager, I don't know. It's just me, man. It's just me.
No, it's not.
I'm feeling very Larry David to start the show. Here.
You are between that and the nose hair. You're all Larry David today. Hey, have you ever had to get a snake out of your garage?
Man,
snake that a little quick dad brief I want to give squad.
No, I really wish Jace was here because he lives by the creek and he's got snake experience like at least every year, I feel like.
Well, if we hold for him to actually be here, and then when he's here to actually be engaged in the show,
we might never get anything off our chest.
Snakes may be extinct at this point.
No, the snakes that I encounter are of the variety that they're not going to make the video, bud. They're just doing at-home stuff by themselves. They're not worthy of display. And so as such, if you just walk in their direction, they'll just mosey on down the road. Either that or they're of the size where the 3-year-old could just pick it up and be like, hey, look what I got here.
I've never had to deal with one in the garage. I've had a couple out in the yard over time that I wanted that were big enough that I was motivated to go, take them from this earth. But a few weeks ago, a friend of ours, and this guy is, first of all, he backs up to a creek. So,
yeah,
it's a thing for the wildlife. He's just a resourceful guy. Like he's one of those dudes that just kind of knows a little bit. Like when the big freeze happened in 2021 and people's tankless water heaters were freezing and flooding, like he knew what to do. He's that guy.
What do you do?
He used he knew where to go and get it all turned off and stuff, because a lot of the newer homes with the tankless water heater, people don't interact with them the way we we grew up with a regular water heater.
There's nothing to interact with. Like you got to go into the wall or some shit for like a shut off.
There's an access panel and you have shut off, you have valves and stuff. But if you've never thought about it,
100% sense now.
Yeah, a systemic thinker, right?
Yeah.
He just gets how shit works. he had a snake in the garage that I would say was probably bordering on,
3 or 4 feet?
2.5 to 3, I would say.
Mm.
Not massive, but not tiny either. Leaf blower.
That makes sense.
Leaf blower. So just wanted to put that out there in the universe for people to hear. Get the leaf blower next time you have one you need to get rid of.
That makes
It was
ton of
funny
sense.
because he had to kind of try to use the angles and use the wall, and it was a little bit of a geometry.
It still gives you, when you think about it, it still gives you the distance from the snake. And if the snake is going to strike something, you've got this longer phallic looking thing sticking out at it for it to strike rather than, your being. It makes perfect sense. The guy should have gone on, grabbed his phone and said, hey, little Facebook hack for those of you that might be dealing with the snake. Watch this.
You can't put it on Facebook, then all the people say that it's distressing to the snake. And
no, because I think the kind people that would tell you to treat the snake kindly because it's gonna be part of the ADT package on your Brinks home security system is that you're just supposed to spray the water at the snake so it knows to go back over there because it's still going to keep the criminals out and it's still going to eat the rat and the mouse and any of the other varmints that might be
right
in your area. So they're telling you just spray it with a little water. And I don't understand how a leaf blower is so much worse than a little water. I mean, kind of the snake's fault if it's stupid enough to be like, yo, this leaf blower's getting me up out of here. Like, it's just air, bud. Like, it's just a little bit of air. Right? You know what I mean? Like, you're telling me the snake couldn't figure that out? Just a little bit of air? Hell, just a little bit of water. Why does the water scare the snake? Snakes are of the water, right?
I don't know if they all are.
But I think what we're concluding is that snakes might be stupid.
No, they are. Think about how small their brain is. I'm just saying the leaf blower is a great option. I don't think it would have occurred to me. I think I would have used I think the correct laboratory term for them is loppers. The big long-handled branch cutter things that are made for cutting like small green shrub branches. I think because that gives you a couple feet plus of extension, and you can just kind of get it close to the head, and then you've got it there.
I don't know about you, but any of the country snake settings I've ever been a part of, or any of the poisonous / rattlesnake scenarios I've ever been a part of, we're getting the sharp spaded shovel and we're taking shots at the head.
Sure. Yeah, for sure.
You know what I'm saying? Like, and if it's 3 feet and I can easily identify that it's not of the variety that you don't want around, but if we're around water, high assumption on my part, high probability assumption on my part that we're dealing with some sort of water moccasin. And if I can't make out a pattern, I'm just going to go straight to copperhead. And so I'm going shovel, but maybe that's just me. Maybe I'm just the insensitive snake killer. No, I told y'all the one incident we had here recently is I thought I had a baby bunny trapped in the damn garage, and I don't know what you do to get that damn thing out because once it hides, it's like you can't even see it, and so it's the opposite end of the spectrum of the scary ass snake. I just don't want a damn bunny trapped in the garage, and it can hide under like the broom bristles, so I'm just kind of stuck out. Situation like that. I was told the other day by neighborhood watch neighbor that we had a rat jump off our fence. Which, if you think I'm getting a leaf blower for a rat, I'm mighty ducking that thing into the alley if I see that.
You got a hockey stick handy to do that with?
No, but I'm going to repurpose. Yeah, I'm repurposing the rake or the shovel. If I see that, No leaf blower.
You're grabbing a shovel and doing a Billy Madison run up, whacking the thing in the head and seeing how far you can punt him.
Yeah, that's exactly what we're doing.
You got anything for us today, or do you want to hear something I got?
I certainly, given the option, I'm always going to say I want to hear something you got.
I got quite a bit of I got a couple different Baby Jessica topics. I kind of feel like I got to save those for when Jace is with us. I'd like to give at least 5 minutes to trying to understand the spousal politics of toilet seats that was big in the 80s, but not big now. I don't feel
Hold
like
on.
I don't
real
consider
quick.
that I don't consider that a Baby Jessica, but it came out of my Baby Jessica thought thread.
The term spousal politic of toilet
seat. Yeah, because people used to, in common media, in the consumer entertainment media space, the idea of the man doing the wrong thing with the toilet seat came up like it came up once a week on TV.
Okay,
someone somewhere on TV when prior to 20 years ago in my life, for the first half of my life, every month on TV, someone was saying something about a man fucking up a toilet seat situation. And I just want to understand that what exactly is the ask? Like, I think I don't understand, because here's the thing. If you're telling me that anytime you're done using it, that the lid and everything should be down and it should just be a closed unit, I get that. That's what I do. No matter what I do, when I'm using it, I close it. Like, I treat it like Tupperware. I open it, I do what needs to be done, I close it. If you're saying don't go number one with the seat down, well, that's obvious, because you're going to get splatter on the seat, which is gross. So that's obvious. Okay. But they said, but I don't. So, but those seem too obvious. What's the debate? What was the debate? And more importantly, why don't we hear about it anymore?
I think we've got a robust conversation in our hands here. And I'd like to go way back to the beginning.
Like squatting in a cave?
Yeah. The toilet in its most recent iteration, the toilet in the designated room in the home, right? Is hold on.
We've got water closet. We have activity.
The water closet. It does look like we've got some activity here without a person showing on, but we'll wait till they show their face to Adam. But I'm just going to keep going with the toilet conversation. How recent of a development is it to have a designated room in the home with a toilet the way we expect to deal with a toilet?
From a human brain anthropological perspective.
Yes, there you go.
It's really new.
I'm talking about evolution here, bud.
Yeah, okay? It's really new.
This is what I'm talking about is behavior modifications at a population level, okay?
In the medulla oblongata.
So if we go back, let me see, do we have a person here?
I'm sorry.
You're on the wrong mic. Pick your other mic.
Hold on.
He'll fix it.
Yeah.
I was just about to get into it.
I'm sorry.
Oh, there he is. The deep resonant pipes.
So, listen. Just a little like Radio 101. You don't email me the link on Saturday and then just not say anything until it's Sunday morning. You don't do that.
I asked him, Jake.
Before, just a quick little, hey, popping on the show today? Did 10 minutes out. We'll be calling you in 10. That's all I ask for.
It's my fault. It's
at least 50% your fault.
I'm going to say maybe 25%, but you know.
I will meet you there.
maybe 25% my fault.
I'm out here running. Dude, I was about to go to the sauna. And I saw my phone and I said, oh, for shame. Que lastima.
Here's the thing, Rylan, as we welcome our good friend Jake onto the show, not to be confused with Jace. We're replacing one letter there, changing it from an S to a K.
You guys ever bring up the fact that like he was a Jace long before there were Jaces, and now the new Jaces don't look like the old Jace?
we have not brought up the fact in that the reason why I call him Jace so often, I have a brother named Jace, lived with him my whole life, never once referred to him as Jace, but Jason spells his name Jasen,
Correct.
whereas 99% of Jasons spell their name Jason.
You're asking for it.
Except for within the last 5 years, where we have, as you've highlighted a number of times, started the alternate spellings of what are considered regular names.
Yeah.
Right. And so I would bet that the percentage of Jasons with E's, which used to just be like convicts and derelicts.
Let me tell you something. The O in that Jason is like the gays. That's the G. But the S in that Jason being replaced with a C, that's the T's. Where you're like, this is all right, maybe, but
it used to be considered completely deviant behavior to take to take an O and turn it to a Y or an E, and now it's completely.
Can I give you a low key critical culturalist thing on my bit of the name rating?
I don't know if you can say critical culturist.
Clitoral culturist.
Critical culturist in the same span that Rylan just said, the politic of the toilet seat.
That's good. I like that.
Yeah, go ahead.
Basically, like, I only make fun of, not only, I mean, for a long time, like, minority populations would have the crazy names because they're in a lot of times, like, they don't have any connection to family history. It's slavery. It's immigration, and you want names that stand out rather than just like master names. So that's kind of, and then those would be funny sometimes, but then you feel racist for making fun of that because it's obviously related to
all on you. I see no humor.
But then when white people started doing it, obviously it became.
Hold on. Here's the thing that we do. I'll do this cultural conversation with you. I have a white grandmother from Alabama named Oneida. So I think we do this thing where like white people get to establish what the history of everything is by like the last 5 minutes. And then everything before that, we're kind of like, I guess that's history, but that's just kind of what was in the water and the air. Like, that's not really like how we were doing things. That's just because we didn't really, view ourselves as the dominant oppressive culture. That's true. It was in the water, guys. It wasn't like true.
And I think there was something. Here's where I'm going with this. I think there was something too where white people like were naming their kids normal shit, and it wasn't because they were like, this is dominant. It's because like it's conventional. But I think over the last 10 years, some due to demographics, some due to misaligned cultural perceptions, particularly like conservative whites started viewing themselves as minorities. And then started naming their kids crazy shit because they viewed themselves as minorities.
It did all happen at the same time.
This is what I'm telling you, is that once the Tea Party happened and white people started being like, there's gays on television. I can't say the N-word, even though it's in rap songs. I'm a fucking attacked minority. That's when they started using C's, X's, Y's, all that. That is how that happened.
I don't think so. I think it is completely just online behavior. I think
it's tough to tease that out.
I think it's just completely the Instagramification of we're all doing the same shit. That we're like, depending upon what funnel of the algorithm you get pushed into, like we're all doing one of 7 things, right? And I think the evidence to support what I'm saying more than what you're saying is more of the Y's replacing E's and the A's being added and the X's, silent X's. I think the population that strikes that profile the most are mixed kids. Like you don't.
Yeah, that is true.
Cousin, my cousin, distant cousin, haven't seen her in a long time, just this week named her first kid Cross with a K. His dad's black.
Yeah, I was going to say.
I'm telling you,
it's not just mixed kids; it's white moms, black dads.
Yeah,
maybe,
but I think you're right.
How many white dads, Asian moms have Jadens and Cadens and
it's. I think it's all part of the same thing, which is just trying to stand out. I just think for a long time, white people were not trying to stand out, and now I think both are true. I think now it's
yeah, I think there's definitely some break from. I think one of the easier explainers is like the break from the church.
Yeah.
Because so many of your most common Anglo names were
Oh,
all
yeah.
biblical driven. Your Michael, Christopher, John, like all of that was just like we're all the same homogenous, going to the same religious cultural gathering spot, and we all want to honor our daughters as Mary and Marie, and our
I might have been
sons.
more likely to stick with the church if they had characters like named like Rylan.
Been a lot more going on in those stories.
But Ryland's
Yeah.
not a new name. Ryland's an old ass name.
Oh, I know. I just mean it's not testy.
Do you
like,
know
dude,
that?
my name is Jacob Matthew. My brother's name is Joseph Daniel. We're fucking. They grabbed the new one and said we like that one.
There's no way RHY was a new development. There's no way
No.
RHY.
There's no, yeah, we don't really know the etymology. I don't even know.
And there's nothing
anything
that's
about it.
close to rye that is such a pervasive crop and or way of living that is new. Like they had to have busted out every variation that you could take rye and do something with it 1,000 years ago.
Right. So the H is kind of like the X or the Z or the Y in a different setting.
I think there's something to that.
Rylan brought up before you joined us. I know you joined us late, Rylan. Speaking of church, he's got a 10 o'clock hard out to go to Black church.
No, I don't have a 10 o'clock hard out to go to Black church, but
Okay,
I would go if invited.
His mom is going to love this. He's here to speak the wonderful gospel of White church. Tell us why you're going to White church then.
You guys want to see something? Here's my shit. I'm off on this. Well, let me get to the cover. How do you make it go to the cover on Apple Books? I'm reading about Unitarian Universalism.
Hey, one of the questions I was going to ask you.
It's the book's called A Chosen Faith.
Yeah. Okay. I'm not surprised at all. One of the questions I was going to ask you, and I don't want to get into a bunch of hab talk if you don't want to get into hab talk, and certainly don't take my tone as dismissive towards that either.
I'm down because like we don't really do it on the show anymore because I think people are somewhat beaten by it unless they can participate in it, which you can. So I think that's a different deal.
I can. Yeah. Okay.
No, I just mean like we can have a back and forth. I think people are interested in that rather than just listening to me.
Obviously. No, I don't mean to be dismissive again. You mentioned a word on, and I don't want to do it right now. I really want to get to Ryland's conversation, but I was going to ask you, it's funny that you brought up the universalism thing, because I was going to ask you, at what point do you think your sobriety is about to butt up against Buddhism and you're going to start figuring that out?
Yeah. So, I mean, I would say that happened in like 2023 pretty half-heartedly. I went to outpatient and I met a therapist there that I really kept seeing until like a week ago or maybe a month ago because I was surprised missing appointments. Like she texted me one day and was like, "Hey, are you on in an hour?" And I was like, "I got to just stop." And she was like one of the most impactful people in my life, and she was really into Buddhism. But I don't know. I just this time around it was kind of backburnered, the religious aspect of it, or at least the specificity of it, because the first thing I had to get over was just the God AA thing and the God. It's the whole thing is it's frustrating to talk about because it feels like a conversation that goes nowhere and doesn't need to happen. But at some point, if you're not religious and you're going to participate in recovery, you're going to have to square that whole thing. I mean, they use a fucking big G. It says God. It says he, capital. It says him, capital. Yet, ironically, there were a lot of people there, and I've been through this in other meetings too. They think that's too woke. You know, they're mad that it doesn't say God, you know, Jesus, and speak, you know,
like the one and only.
Exactly. And now they, you know, they use as you, how do they say it? Is it as you consider him?
Yeah, something along those lines.
I'm not a big stepper, so it's
the deity of your choice.
Yeah,
they try to widen the tent.
Yeah, and that pissed people off. But for me, I'm like, the fact that pisses you off lets me know that it's not inclusive. That's all you need to know. And so, but I met there was like a lady at AA that or at rehab that led AA. She was from Austin, and I was, I stay in the classroom, just white boy, fucking solid over here in the playbook. So I was always in this room by myself reading, and she was there setting up, and we talked for like an hour. And she said something like, maybe I got to pull the steps up to get this, but basically like her higher power was the group. And you boys know I love a team. I love a fucking teamwork. She was like, your higher power can just be your group, your community. That's who you draw strength from. That's who you owe it to. And so that started then. And that felt, as I went from there, like more of this universalist thing than Buddhism.
I think
so. Like, I'm not saying I won't get there. I'm not like fucking converting. I just read the stuff they write, and they're referencing a lot of like Emerson and shit like that.
Yeah. And I think you'll find some balance and some Buddhist tenets within universalism.
Yeah, I think so. They mentioned it, but it's I don't know, man. It's really interesting to me because I struggle a lot with like basically what I have owned slaves. You know, I think you guys probably think about that every day when you're like not wanting to clean up dog shit. You're like, there was a time I definitely would have been in the class of people who had slaves, right? We all think it.
When I'm cleaning up dog shit
or whatever.
No, I always think, man, I wonder if Jay-Z's ever done this shit.
Yeah, like, that's a good question.
I wonder.
You know, Bed-Stuy, you're not walking your dog.
No, but in New York, one of the things you'll hear is like a disgusting trope is some people just let their dog shit on the sidewalk.
Dude, I did that this morning. I kind of did that this morning.
I'm a horrible person.
I'm only going to tell you guys. And here's the thing. Here's the thing. Yeah. I was going to go back and pick it up I had a bag in my car. It's down the street on the way to the sauna. And then I was compelled to come do this podcast. Only one drop of poop on the sidewalk. The rest of it is in an empty lot.
Okay, qualified.
Empty lot's okay.
I made her walk in between two houses, and I forgot a bag, and she just shit in the yard. So, you know, we're 200 years removed from the three of us, like, you know, there's a chance we own slaves, right?
How unpoor did you need to be?
I think you had to be pretty wealthy, but you know, like, what would you like? I don't know. We're all probably in the top like 10 to 15% of income just by being like professionals, 20%.
Us personally, yeah.
So I don't know like how high you have to go to have it. Probably higher than that. But my point is like moral relativism. So it's easy to be like, oh yeah, that's disgusting. I would not have owned slaves, but obviously there were a lot of people there who had no problem with it. And so it's like, I read this universal Unitarianism stuff, and there's a whole lot of abolitionist shit, and like people as early as like the early 1800s who were like, this Calvinism shit makes no sense. Men and women can both be in the church. It makes no sense. We have slaves. Like there were people, large groups of them throughout time, who were like, I know that this is wrong. And I feel like in present day, I am one of those people, haughty as it may seem. So this book, I read it and it like gives me hope. It feels like they're speaking to my desire to feel like I'm morally superior than others.
Which is actually, that sounds like a pursuit of religion a little bit.
I was about to say, isn't that any number of religions? And that you explained it in kind of a self-indulgent, neurotic way. I'm not trying to be insulting.
No, but that's how I got there, though.
No, but that's also like, it's self-indulgent and neurotic in that you can be aware of it and focus on it, but it only exists in the context of connecting to other parts of society. In society, I'm using there as a placeholder for people.
Yeah, and it's true, because it's not like I'm Andrew Tate. You know what I mean?
That's what I'm saying is your realization is that I can't do this by myself, right?
Yeah.
The way you got there, a little fucked up, whatever. But that's the admittance there, is that even if you wanted to go the extreme and be like, I am small and weak and not able to do this by myself, and admit that to yourself, and then realize kind of your place in a context of humanity there, like acknowledging you're small and weak. So there has to be something that's not small and weak. And a large part of that is connected to the other people. And then if we're to all kind of believe in that similar space, there's got to be this bigger thing. Like, yeah, that's religion. And yes, we can make a joke of it, of like, you're thinking along the spectrum of like who would have had slaves and who wouldn't have had slaves.
Yeah. Yeah, and because part of it too, like the recovery thing is like you're doing like a balance of pride and gratitude. And like because you have to be thinking like I did some of this myself. Like I have to have some level of like I'm that motherfucking dude. Like I just 9 months ago I was there, now I'm here. You have to, but you also can't be like I did this myself. It's impossible. So it really is like the weirdest time of like trying to be humble I've ever had. Because I've always had a pretty low opinion of myself. And now it's not as low. And it's weird.
Which is also weird because I think a lot of the maybe feedback you get is somebody who might have a low opinion of themselves like you, but also has the ability to speak with like a resonance in their voice. I think really proves enigmatic for a lot of people to receive. And so it reinforces the negative thing that you don't want. So you get a lot of negative feedback and you already have a low opinion of yourself.
Yeah, so, but I should say though, like
it would make sense though to me, and maybe this speaks to how I am as well. It would make sense though that you would gas yourself.
Yeah. Like, yeah, definitely. That's like an insecurity thing. Obviously, we all deal with it. My job just puts it on steroids a little bit. But I gotta be like, I have to be honest with you, man. Like the professional setup that we have now, I really do try to be aware of how like 99.9th percentile fucking perfect it is. Like we're probably never going to make $1 million. But
you remember that one guy who was like, hey, you're not going to be able to make 6 figures doing podcasts?
I remember him quite well.
You want to say his name real quick?
Dan Bennett's not a bad guy. Dan Bennett
not a bad guy. I didn't say he was a bad guy.
No,
I just said that his math was bad.
He was out of touch maybe with the math, because I only brought that up to him because I know the guys at Washed, like I had friends my age who I felt like my footprint was the same or bigger than theirs, and he didn't know that. So Dan Bennett's not. I don't think Dan Bennett's like a malicious actor. I think he was maybe a little out of touch and put in a bad situation by the fucking disaster that is the corporate structure of America. He's not a bad guy, but that's him. I forgot what we were talking about, but I feel like I had a point I was going to make for you.
It doesn't matter. Yourself, your current work.
Oh, it's just great. It's just perfect. It's just perfect. Like everybody's cool. Like if you don't want to listen, like I take the criticism now super well. If people are like, I don't like that, and there's enough of them, I don't know. It's just perfect, dude. My life is perfect. If people talk shit, they're right. And I'm like, yeah, probably we missed on that one.
I know exactly what that's like.
Sarah Heppel has said something to me after the summer event that was like, media is supposed to be a thing that's like collective and of the people. And she was like, at your thing, that's how it felt. And to me, that's perfect. I'm not fucking Gordon. Dan's close in my opinion, but I'm not, Bob or whatever. But our thing is like a thing. Even more so than the ticket, I would say, by default, because it's smaller and more, even more like plugged in. So I don't know, man. We're making fucking noise.
I heard you. I don't stay up to date on all of your podcasts anymore the way that I used to.
That's okay.
It's not a personal thing.
No. We all got shit.
I'm not saying it is a judgment of taste. I'm
here when you need me.
I'm not in my my car enough anymore. And so the other day, I was like, I think you and I texted on Friday, and I'm just joking about like getting the negative feedback for your podcast. And I would by no means compare our podcast to any of the podcasts you do.
It's all the same, dude.
It's not. We do this.
Well, this is the same as IJB. The Dumb Zone is a fucking job, and I want people to know that I spent all morning writing a rap song for Qualis Roofing.
And so I turned on the podcast.
By the way, Brad, I still have fucking bars, man. I still have fucking bars.
You think so?
I do. Go listen to those opening day songs, and it's tough. Like I could demolish you. Like it's not really even a. It's not really even a.
I will rap for the sole purpose of teaching you that you are not a rapper,
and I will do it for the sole purpose of making.
And I actually am.
Yes.
Go make a real song.
Yeah. Okay.
Go make a real song and play it.
Why don't you check out this Qualis John and give on back to you? But what did you hear?
I was like, I think you and I had texted back and forth on Friday to you do the show. And I was like, it sounds like he's going to be on. Let me catch up just to see what he's talking about here. And when I say catch up, I'm never more than like maybe 3 or 4
You're
episodes
good.
behind. And so I turned it on, and I don't remember if it was the Patreon or whatever, but like it was just funny to me. Like the first 5 fucking seconds of the show, he's like, look, I'm going to give you an overly dad branded thing. And, you know, that's not a shot at like Brad and Rylan. And I was like, what the fuck?
I haven't heard this yet.
And it was like in the first 5 seconds or 5 minutes, whatever. It's like right at the beginning. He's like, and that's not a shot at our
That's
good
universalism. We're all
at our good friends at the Human Dad podcast. And I was like, yeah, he's right. It's overly branded. It's overly dad branded.
You guys were really early now. By the way, I listened to like, I haven't listened to the show, but clips of like Will Compton's dad show. That shit blows, dude. Everybody wants to be fucking dad guys now, and I think it's gay, and I think you guys are funny, and I think you were funny early. Like, you made me want to be dads because you were funny dads. But
yeah,
this shit is like, I fucking hate like the corporatization of parenting. It's just fucking
I think there's so much.
Our being a dad branded show is more about this is the place in life we're coming from as a bunch of now 40-something dudes, mid-30s dudes at the time, and not so much about let's talk about every dad thing and try to,
and that's the thing is that like, and that's I don't know. It's odd to me that somebody can get that gassed up on themselves as a parent to be like, let me say this too. For some reason, it bothers me more when it's a dad. Maybe I'm just used to like women because everything my mom or my wife sends me about being a parent is from a woman, like on Instagram.
Because they have to used to more.
That's true. They're just naturally, That's a dumb point by me.
That's why it's just a natural thing. So when the dads are doing it, they're kind of stepping out of their box a little bit and they're kind of full of shit. It's like optimization guy talking about, you know, his protein shake or whatever. Like, I don't want to hear about your dad bullshit.
Yeah.
But over the 4th of July, I was telling somebody, I was like, I just don't think I look at our kids sometimes and I'm like, I don't think we're very good at this. Like, I don't even know. You know,
do you feel that way?
Yeah, that's a big refrain of the show is that
replacement level.
I've heard you guys say that before, but okay. So remind me ages.
40 kids?
Yeah.
11 and 8.
12 and 10, almost 13. For all practical purposes, 13 and 10.
And in your case, Brad, the girl's older?
Yeah, my daughter's 11. Shep is my daughter Sage is 11. Shep is 8.
Okay, so I don't have to go right at 10. I probably will go. Let me ask you this. So a listener, this is the first time this ever happened. This shit does not happen to me all the time, I promise. But a female listener who works at a med spa offered to have me and my wife in today for like whatever.
That's cool.
Do you think I got a shower before that?
Yeah.
Okay, then I got to go at like 10:00 or 10:05, 10:10. Maybe 10:15. If you could somewhat briefly tell me what makes you think that you are not sure that you're doing a good job.
They just aren't put together the way that other people's kids are put together or the way that I was put together. I mean, they're good kids. They are kind to people within reasonable expectations of that age group. But I just don't know. They throw us curveballs and we're just guessing on where to swing.
They get in trouble a lot?
No, not really. I think the younger one may, once we get a little closer to middle school. We're going into 5th grade. So I think, ask me in a couple years how I'm feeling about that. When she was in kindergarten, I said she was going to set the middle school keg stand record.
Did they listen to you?
Not like I used to. I think here's the thing. The conversation that we had about this a couple days ago with some friends of ours that have similar age kids was that we were just more afraid of our parents.
100%. 100%.
And so I think I just got to adjust to the dynamic. I think the boomer generation drove. I use the word anxiety to describe this, but I don't want to classify it as like a medical psychological anxiety that you would necessarily take meds for. But it was it was this need to
dude.
control
This was a big part of my stuff at rehab. And like, I didn't talk about this on the Dumb Zone that much because I didn't really want my mom to hear.
You just went on mute.
Oh, it's a random button. I guess it's like,
there you go.
That's never happened. So anyways, just that was a big part of it for me. It was like, you know, I don't know your like upbringing situation, Rylan, but I was very nervous in the home growing up. Like, my mom is a fucking stick of dynamite, dude. And she was self-employed. She was single for a lot of the time. And even when I had a dad or a stepdad around, it didn't matter because she was in charge. And she's a fucking powder keg, man. And she's a sweet person. I'm gonna do my mom's great, but I was very nervous as a kid, like, because physical punishment was a part of it. Like, and it would happen quick. Like, I could be fucking popped in the mouth at dinner, moment's notice. That can't happen and you not be nervous. And so for me, it's like codependency and shit like that. Just like tying your emotion to someone else. I don't think my kids will ever do that.
Right.
Like the way that I did in the home. And yeah, I don't know. That is interesting. I mean, that's a very astute way to put it, is just adjusting to the dynamic. And man, I fucking hate I don't even talk like that anymore. So I'll catch myself there. But I can feel the difference with my son, you know, and I joke around about this, but you know, Carter is replacing Connor in our friend group. My friend DJ has a son named Connor, and he's the worst behaved kid I've ever been around in my life. And a couple years ago, this is kind of a long story, but a couple years ago, we had come home from the beach and Nora was talking to my mom and they were playing around. She was like, "Hey, if you don't stop, I'm going to throw you through that fucking window." She was like 3, maybe two. At the time, Connor was like 5, and we had just been at the beach with all them. And so this started like a fucking mystery search among the group text. And DJ was like, "Yeah, that was me." And I'm like, "Dude, you're an animal. You're just telling your fucking kindergarten son you're going to throw him through a window." And I can't remember if he copped to that or not. But I would, at the time, I'm like, I would never say that to Nora.
Yeah.
And in the last week, dude, I've had like grab his arm moments with Carter that have like been like, that's too much. That's too much.
Yeah,
like,
I've definitely had the rhetorical flourishes of the I'm going to throw your. I don't think I've ever said fucking ass or whatever out of the window, but definitely there was a period when the kids were in that 5 to 8 range where I was expecting more and it wasn't getting it, and I would give the rhetorical flourish, and I had a couple years where I had to learn that's not helping. You know, Courtney would be like, I'm telling jokes for you guys to get it. You're telling jokes for one, kind of.
Yeah.
And she'd be like, it's not helping, especially with Layla, our oldest, big time ADHD, legit anxiety. And, you know, it took us until she was about 3rd grade to get a handle on all that and how it really affects in her working with her, you know, and now she's going into 8th and everything's good. But like, the rhetorical flourishes were the worst possible thing you could do to a kid with really pretty strong anxiety plus the ADHD when they're in a 3rd grader, 8-year-old, 9-year-old, whatever. So, yeah, it's exactly the same thing, and it's a little bit like a watered down version of you know, my parents weren't super big on the rhetorical flourishes, but they would. I was no stranger to a little corporal punishment for the first decade of my life. I mean, for sure,
Yeah.
you know, not a lot, but it was there. And so that was hanging over it. Plus they just were more, they desired a lot more order and control of every aspect of everything. And so a lot of what I did, and not necessarily in a bad way, all the time, but what I did as a kid was just try to avoid being noticed, just fly under the radar. If I want to do what I want to do, the way to do it is to leave no trace, you know? And so my kids, they're leaving traces. They can't have one potato chip without 3/4 of the potato chip being on the floor. And I'm talking about 5th and 8th grade. There is no such thing as leaving a trace in this.
You got to realize though that
they're not walking on eggs. It shows that to some degree, and all the stories you've told, Jake, over the years about growing up that we've heard, and you haven't heard as many about ours. You were walking on eggshells some. I was walking on eggshells some. I think we were all just generationally walking on eggshells more than our kids are.
There was definitely a way I felt like things were supposed to be when I was a kid, and
they weren't about you.
Yeah, and so I think just
we're going to Sears, and I don't care if you like it or not. You're gonna walk around fucking Sears for 90
Dude,
days.
it is so fun. Like if there was one thing that I wish that generationally that you could really implant in someone, it's like you just have to understand the lack of beating that you have compared to I have. And like I tried to appreciate that from my mom, because I would go out to my grandparents' farm and be around my grandparents and be like, probably fucking sucked worse back then. So
yeah,
I don't know that. I just don't know that. Like, I almost want my mom to show my daughter her teeth one time so that I can be like, this is how it was every day. So if that freaked you out, like, notice we don't do that around here. It's so much that like I get a lot of like, Nora are you mad? Are you mad? And I'm like, no, babe, I don't get mad. I don't get mad. You know, I don't get mad. And she knows mom gets mad, but like,
bro, you should just say yes.
I don't know. Why?
I used to get the same question. I remember it specifically when Sage was like 3 and 4 years old, and she would say, "Are you mad of me? Are you mad of me?" She didn't know how to speak English. She would be like, "Are you mad of me?" And at some point, I just started saying, like, "Here's what I'm mad about," or "Here's what I'm frustrated with." And 99% of the time, it never has anything to do with the kid. It has to do with the time frame that you think you're supposed to be on, or the 7 other things that you're thinking about, but you got to get like literal shorts on them, and that is not always like the easiest task. And so I started saying it to be like, no, it's not because of you, but I don't know. Like, I feel like that's reason number 1 when you say like, why do you think you're bad at it? And I think it's because whether they hold themselves responsible for it or not, they can feel how you feel.
Yeah.
And the awareness of that leads me to be like, damn, I'm not going to be able to control how I feel well enough to not make you think that none of this ever has anything to do. Like, I know
but that's the goal,
I'm going to be operating at a deficit. So if I acknowledge that deficit, I'm going to be like, look, I'm not doing very good at this. My kids are perfect. Like, I do not have any negative feedback on my kids as members of society, as contributors, as active leaders, as like our kids. Like, we've seen a bunch of kids, bro. I got some pretty fucking good kids. I still don't feel like I'm always that good at this.
Yeah,
and a lot of it has
like I'm the coach that maybe isn't always raising the level of their game to what they could be at, but I've unlocked something in the last couple years about the whole being mad thing, which is to say, be very clear about whatever I'm mad about, whatever decision you make on something or whatever you did, kid, I'm going to be happy either way. Like, I try to make sure and I only figured this out in the last couple years, but find a way to say that I'm happy with what you did or with your decision, or what you did is okay because you're 11, whatever, as opposed to, because there's no hiding. I can get a little fired up. There's no hiding that. They know I'm going to get pissed off. So I had to realize that I had to say very specifically the difference between the kid action and me being pissed off. I'm probably pissed off about something else entirely.
I've started saying you're not responsible for the look on my face. Like,
that's a good one.
I just want everybody to understand in the house. I'm not saying that I'm okay. I'm not saying that my behavior is good. I'm not saying that I'm operating that not out of frustration. I am frustrated, but just because you see a look on my face doesn't mean that you're responsible for it.
That's a good one.
And to their defense, they have heard me lash out. They have heard me voice a frustrated tone with them, whether it was one way at 3 years old because they're 3, and a different way at 8 years old because they're 8, and a different way at 11 because they're 11. They still experience that frustration, and they still experience that anger, and they still got to work out, like, what's my part in it? How do I fit in? Did I do something? It's not a hit to the face, but it is a reaction that you're on standby for. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And that's why The reason why I say I'm not good at this, though, is because do it all perfect, do it all well. And there is, without a doubt, beyond your control, so many numbers of cycles and fractures that they've been born into that it's like trying to control the cracks in the pavement as they happen. Like, how do you?
Yeah, and like for me,
Who would ever say they're good at that?
I was
Who
telling
would
a
ever
guy
say,
this.
I can
Yeah,
control
no.
the cracks in the pavement? I'm really good at pavement crack control.
Will Compton.
And that comes back to your other point, though.
Yeah.
It's like so much of the quote unquote dad content is of the here's how you're supposed to do this. Here's what's worked for us.
Yeah.
And okay, fine, great. I don't consider that all that compelling or entertaining. One of the big reasons that we do this show is because of a big text conversation you and I had, Jake, when I want to say it was probably, it was definitely Nora. Around that time, we were talking about how you're going to capture moments and like what I do and like everything. The big part of this show is us being like, hey, bro, we probably weren't that good at this, but this is at least who we were when you weren't able to be aware of everything.
Yeah. No, I think about that a lot.
This is who we were and what we were thinking when you were being subjected to our not great parenting executions.
Yeah, the few years of preview there where we really didn't know what we were doing with a bunch of 3-year-olds running around here.
And then they'll just run it. It'll just like they'll get an AI bullet pointed. They'll never actually listen to it.
Oh yeah, they're gonna have this breakdown. So like search Sage, and so like anytime that comes up in the like that's how we're gonna listen to the show. Yeah,
I was telling a guy this morning because like I tweeted about this, but man, I got a lot of correspondence over the July 4th and 5th holidays about addiction, and a guy was emailing me. He had said he just picked up his son. It was 25, and like that is the one thing left out here in my life that I cannot control and terrifies me, like, because there's obviously a genetic component to this.
I think about as somebody who's walked right up to the line myself and has family members on both sides of the tree here who have definitely struggled with issues. And what's even crazier, see this as your kids get older, is you start noticing like behavioral patterns and decision-making processes.
Yeah.
And you're like, I see how that maps to
24
and some bad decisions.
You know what I was talking to my daughter about yesterday? Fucking warheads, which I got addicted to when I was like 9. And my tongue had exploded. It was like all my taste buds were gone. And I'm like, more. I need more warheads. Like I'm spending all like my budget. How do I feed my family? And it probably occurred to me at the time. It was like, oh yeah, okay. Fucking dopamine chaser.
We already had some sort of sensory situation that we are always in pursuit of.
Yeah.
Here. Yeah. That makes a ton of sense.
Yeah, Brad. Jake and I talked about this a little while ago. I was mentioning something about my oldest daughter liking to make mocktails at home, and he goes, "Oh yeah, I used to do that a lot." He's like, "Here, it's coming, buddy."
I feel like that's probably a solid.
Again.
You're good. If when we had the above ground pool with the little attached hot tub, or like the above ground hot tub, whatever, getting a little basically like
Hall of Fame white trash shit.
Oh yeah,
here. I've never heard of the hot tub being connected to the above ground pool.
Well, basically what we did is we put it next to it, and we built like a little deck, like that made it look like it was like a little
So like the prefab hot tub that we could all go get at the hot tub store.
Yeah, it like kind of looked connected because
decked out around the.
There was like a walkway in between the pool and the. It felt like but so the point is, I loved a good cranberry, Sprite, and there was something like a syrup I would put in it that my parents had at their bar. Get in the hot tub, dude. At 10, 11. Yeah, something. Yeah.
Mine did.
I was living.
You're literally describing my house, hot tub and all.
You talking about your upbringing. I don't think I knew that there was like cocktails until I was like 19. Like drinking was beer.
Like, I didn't either because my dad had 14 Miller Lights a day.
Yeah.
So I didn't.
If you're
really
going to drink,
know
that means you have 11 Budweisers at night. Like that's that's drinking.
I remember the cocktail one in the hot tub. That's how, in the lake when they would go with friends to the lake. That was a big thing. It's also big for me because that's where I was able to see HBO for the first time. So
there you go.
Real sex.
We could do a whole show just about trying to get real sex going. Or
I honestly, I think the only antique beat I could get off right now, sight unseen, just nothing. There was a real sex episode. I might have been 10 or 11 if family timelines shake out. And it was a real sex about people that would use like latex body paint. And I was like, what the fuck? It's like, there's just this isn't, come on, dude. And I think I could still, I haven't seen it since then. I tried finding it once unsuccessfully, but
yeah, I would really be interested in trying to find an archival real sex episode. The one that sticks out in my mind was a bunch of couples sitting in a room, and it was some sort of intimacy class, except everybody's naked. And
oh yeah, dude, a bunch of Hillary voter looking.
It wasn't really. I mean,
just granola everywhere.
It didn't look like it was going to go well. And I remember one of the buddies I was with was like, "Oh God,
beans and granola,"
and we're like, "No," we're kind of like, "No, stick with it," And then the only thing I remember from it is they took a guy's sack and it had chocolate sauce or something on it, and they literally dipped it in
what?
Yeah. They dipped it in the nuts. It was topping
like ice cream. And we were so pissed. We were like, I can't believe we're all here. There's an episode on, and they're showing us this. I think that was probably 5th grade, 6th grade. Yeah, same age you were saying. I've never forgotten that nut sack with those chopped nuts, man.
That's what your kids are going to hear one day.
They're going to love it. They're going to love that.
I'm sorry I was late.
Oh, it's fine. It was fun anyway.
Yeah, all you did was distract us from a conversation about how women used to go ass first into the bathroom and splash their nethers. And eventually,
I don't know if that's true. That's what I wanted to explore.
Dude, my daughter has a burning desire to piss in a urinal. Like every time she sees it, she's like, "What? It would work. It would definitely work." And I'm like, I don't know, man. I can't say.
I don't think so. Not to combine two conversations that don't belong down there, but it's much further down there than you think it is.
Yeah, that is true. But I think it's good that she's aiming high, and if you want to give her a little hope for the future, you can tell her, well, I have gone in a sink, so maybe you can shoot. Maybe you can ref a pre-NBA Finals playoff game.
You'll get a summer league game one day. Yeah. For Brad, for Rylan, for Jason, thank you to our friend Jake. Human Dads 231. Sorry for the long respite. I figured Jake would be a consolation prize for us being gone this long. Believe it or not, Jake, since last time you were on, people actually listen now. So
that's awesome.
Cool. It is awesome. So thank you for being here, even if it was even if it was late. No, I think we actually have like legitimate listenership now.
I just do it for you, man.
Me too.
People want to listen.
Same, right back at you. I do it because you're listening. So. Human Dads 231. We'll holler at y'all next time. Tell your mom to listen, bring the bread. Go to Arby's, climb the ladder, let it breathe, mix in a tortilla, season your bacon.
Spread your neck.
Up your fork.
Oh, yeah, don't forget to spread your neck, please, especially on the holidays right now. Everybody loves a little neck spread on the holidays.